Okay, so picture this. You spent days, maybe even weeks, doing recon. You found that perfect vulnerability, crafted the exploit, and boom, you get that shell. It's an amazing technical win, right? But what's next? How do you turn that blinking cursor on a command line into something that actually matters to a business? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. The art and science of a killer penetration test report. This quote from Patrick Engebretson just hits the nail on the head. An exploit? That's just a temporary key to a locked door. The client isn't really paying for the key. They're paying you for the blueprint, the detailed explanation of how you picked the lock, so they can go and build a much, much better one. That intelligence, that is the real value. And the report is your delivery vehicle. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by looking beyond the thrill of the initial hack. Then, we'll get to know the two very different audiences you're writing for. After that, we'll dive into crafting the perfect executive summary, and then get into the nitty-gritty of detailing your findings. We'll talk about turning problems into actual solutions, and finally, we'll look at the huge impact a great report can have long after you're gone. Every single pen test really does start out like a hunt. You're out there in this vast digital wilderness, searching for that one little mistake, that one loose thread, an overlooked port, a lazy misconfiguration. It's all about being methodical, narrowing down the possibilities until you find that one critical weakness. So, you've got these first three steps: reconnaissance, scanning, and exploitation. Let's be honest, this is the sexy part of hacking, right? It's the Hollywood stuff, gathering intel, rattling doorknobs, and finally kicking the door in. But all of that is just the prelude. It's all just setting the stage for the most important part, the reporting. This is where you actually create value. Let's be really clear about this. Gaining access to a system is a fleeting moment. It's temporary. The real, permanent value comes from meticulously documenting the path you took, the vulnerability you used, and exactly how to fix it. Without that report, a successful exploit is just, well, it's just a cool story to tell your friends. It has zero business impact. And this brings us to the core challenge of writing a great report. You're not just writing for one person. You're actually writing for two completely different groups with totally different needs. A good way to think about it is you're writing for the king, who runs the kingdom, and the guards, who are on the front lines protecting the walls. And here they are. Your king, that's your executive leadership, they think in terms of risk, of budget, of brand damage. They couldn't care less about the specific SQL query you used. They just want to know, is our customer data safe? Then you have the guards, your tech team. They live in a different world. They need every last technical detail, the proof of concept, the exact steps to replicate the issue, because they're the ones who actually have to go out and fix the wall. A truly great report speaks both of these languages fluently. So let's start with the king. The executive summary is absolutely critical because it might be the only part of your report that leadership ever reads. You've got one shot to get your point across, so it has to be perfect. So, for the king, you gotta be brief and you gotta be direct. These are busy people. We're talking 1, maybe 2 pages max. You need to translate the technical jargon into business impact. So instead of saying SQL injection, you say, we found a flaw that could expose our entire customer database, potentially leading to massive regulatory fines. You give them a simple, clear risk rating, high, medium, or low, so they get the severity in a split second. This is your 30-second elevator pitch for the entire engagement. Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about the map for the guards. This is the real meat of the report. This is where you lay out every single technical detail for the team that's actually going to do the fixing. A summary table like this, it is an absolute lifesaver for a busy technical team. It's their battle plan. In one glance, they can see the full scope of the issues, they can prioritize based on risk level, and they can start assigning tasks before they've even read the full report. It just makes their job so much easier right from the get-go. So what goes into a really solid, complete finding? Think of it like a case file. You start with a detailed description of the vulnerability. Then, and this is so important, you provide the proof of concept. A screenshot, a code snippet, something that proves you did what you say you did. You need to give them step-by-step instructions so they can replicate it themselves. This isn't about showing off, it's about building trust. If they can't reproduce it, they can't fix it. Simple as that. And that brings us to what is arguably the most constructive part of the entire report. Look, you're not just there to break things, you're there to help them build everything back, but stronger this time. Remediation. This is where you make the big shift from being a problem finder to being a problem solver. And good remediation isn't some vague suggestion like you should probably update your software. No, it's specific, actionable guidance. Give them the exact commands to run, link them to the specific patch they need to install, provide a sanitized code sample. The easier you make it for them to fix the problem, the more valuable you become. And right here, this is the ultimate goal. When you deliver a report that's clear, that's detailed, and that's packed with helpful, actionable solutions, you fundamentally change your relationship with the client. You're no longer just the hired gun who broke in. You become their trusted partner, the expert who's helping them secure their kingdom for the long haul. So let's just zoom out for a second and wrap this up by looking at the big picture. The exploits you performed will get patched. Your access will be revoked. But the report? The report is what stays. This final quote really says it all. Everything you do, all the late nights, all the clever exploits, all that hard work, it is all ultimately judged by the quality of this one single document. A brilliant hack with a sloppy, unhelpful report is a failure, but a solid test with an outstanding report, that's a massive success. That report is your professional legacy. So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. Once the vulnerabilities are patched and your access is gone, what story does your report tell? Is it just a collection of cool hacks, or is it a lasting blueprint that helps build a stronger, more secure organization? The answer to that question is what truly defines your impact as a security professional. Thanks for joining us.